Hello and welcome to Mr. Wizard's Workshop, episode 53. So this week it's Stop Procrastinating Part 2. Last week I got started on some of the tactics and strategies for beating procrastination with the filter or focus or perspective from a point of view of different types of procrastinators. This week I want to just run through my list and discuss, regardless of what might be causing it, the things that I personally find most helpful. I call them my top tactics for beating procrastination. Number one, well, these are not necessarily in a specific order. All of these I think are highly useful. One of the ones I think is really important for several different reasons is create and follow a daily schedule, which makes the best use of your time and energy. So as all the long-term participants in my workshop know, I beat the drum on calendar time blocking pretty regularly. And I did a series of, I think I'm up to 21 tips now on time blocking. While it's not the be-all, end-all solution for managing procrastination, it's a very important framework to help you. If you do that, that means you've given yourself a time limit and a target date for completing both the problem task, called any task that you find yourself regularly or chronically procrastinating on. That means you have blocked it out. You've given yourself a target date and you've blocked out an amount of time that you think is going to take to complete that task along with all your other tasks. That also assumes that you have broken down any of the really big chunks, those large intimidating tasks, into a series of smaller, much easier to manage tasks. I mean, that's one of the things you do when you do calendar time blocking is you break it down into manageable chunks of time. And as a reminder, whenever you're doing that, you need to use the SMART framework to define those tasks. So while a lot of people talk about the SMART framework, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound for goals, it's also those are also the attributes that you want to have for a specific task. Learn an effective prioritization technique and then use it. So I've done several workshops, also some supporting training videos on three of the really most effective techniques. One, the 80-20 rule, also known as the vital few. A second useful prioritization technique is the Eisenhower matrix. And the third one, the one I lean towards using the most, is the one thing question from the book, The One Thing. So I've done several videos on this. I'm not going to revisit this all right now. You can Google it and get as much detail and information as you want, or go back to my videos and watch them. But the key thought here is pick one, because prioritization is really important, and then apply it and use it. Number 6 would be get a good accountability partner or an accountability coach. So since that's my gig these days is an accountability coach, I'm very comfortable saying that for my business clients who use my services, that's a very helpful thing for them. I'm also in a daily accountability call first thing in the morning, where some of us are partnering up and serve as accountability partners for each other. So that's also a useful practice. So number 7, this is maybe philosophical to a certain extent, but there's a practical application of it, which is, understand, accept that you may not feel interested in something until you actually get involved or started with it. So I did do a workshop a little while back on the benefits of embracing boredom, and this is another aspect of that. Not everything that you do is every moment of your day is going to be breathtakingly exciting. And for some people, some of the time, the tasks that they tend to procrastinate on are the ones that just don't feel especially appealing in the moment. So they defer it. But if you shift your thinking a little bit and step back and recognize that not everything you do has to be incredibly exciting, then you'll be less inclined to defer doing something if it doesn't feel immediately exciting when you think about doing it. Related to that would be if you're feeling that resistance. So let me give you a specific example. You look down your calendar and say, okay, what have I already blocked out next? Say, for example, for me this afternoon, I blocked out a 90-minute chunk to do some yard work. We have like 5 acres that I mow, so I have to kind of, somewhere I need to stay on top of it. Some days, if I think about it, I go, yeah, that doesn't really sound that exciting. But I can just say, well, what the hell? Let me go gas up the mower, get started. And, if I go ahead and make that commitment to that easy first step, that gets me up and going. And, 95% of the time, once I have my ass sitting on the mower and I'm moving around, sunshine, there's a nice breeze, I'm communing with nature. Hey, this is okay. And, I'll be able to get my 90 minutes in. But if I hadn't got my butt out on the mower, then that wouldn't have happened. Also related to this, and this is the first time I've discussed this particular thing, I came across it a little while back and I've started using it, is the 5-second rule. So this is actually a pattern interrupt technique. So when you find yourself hesitating or feeling the urge to procrastinate, it seems like a silly mechanical thing, but it actually works. Count backwards from 5 and then take immediate action. So applying this to the example I used of my mowing task for this afternoon, mowing/yard work. If I look at, once I get to that point in my calendar and I look and go, okay, this is when I blocked out time to get out and get some mowing done. If I'm feeling that resistance, I can combine, 5 minutes, so it's easy enough to do 5 minutes, but I'll actually use the pattern interrupt of going before my mind starts getting too far down the road of, I really don't feel like doing that. Screw it. I'm going to blow it off. I just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stand up. And then I'm moving, one foot in front of the other, just go out the door and go gas up the mower and get started. And then, number 10 would be give yourself permission to make mistakes. So this comes out of, especially with those folks who procrastinate because of perfectionism. If you understand, accept, whatever you do is not going to be perfect, but often it'll be more than good enough, then I think that's often helpful for me when something keeps popping up as a task that I'm really wanting to procrastinate. So the action item for this week is actually watch this 60-second video from Mel Robbins about the 5-second rule. She wrote a whole book on it, but this is like a really short video, under a minute. I'll put the link to it in the description of this week's workshop video. This is because this is the first time I've talked about this, and I find it to be a really useful little brain hack, as it were. I'm giving you the action item to go look at that 60-second video on it. If you want bonus credit, she actually has a 15-minute video where she's on somebody's podcast or being interviewed, where she goes into a lot more detail. I'll put the link to that one also in the description for this week's recording. So I have a question for you. Are you an entrepreneur who's highly motivated to improve your productivity, but you still struggle with procrastination, the subject of the last 3 workshops? One of the tests for that is, do you regularly find yourself neglecting your important or highest priority tasks? So then schedule a free 30-minute quick start to time blocking working session with me, and I'll show you how to get started with time blocking, which, as I've mentioned in today's video, is a really useful tool to help you beat procrastination and get your shit done. That's the link right there to schedule the call, the Accountability Wizard /scheduling. But I'll also put that link into the description of this week's video. I'm a master of time blocking. I can help you master it also, but I have a limited number of time blocks available on my calendar. So grab a slot while you can. So anything jump out at calendar blocking, for example?
Yeah, I mean, what stood out to me, especially today, was point number 7. I think when on the slide it said, understand and accept that you may not feel interested in something until after you get involved in it.
Yep.
Embrace boredom. And that is something that I talk about this a lot in my personal life, where I like to do various activities, but most of the people that I know, if in the rare case when they do try it, 9 out of 10 times it turns out that it is exactly as much fun as I promised. I mean, even myself, I have this too, where I have to force myself to try new things that I don't want to try, and then after I've done them and I start doing it, I start to love it and enjoy it. It's just something so weird about doing something that you don't want to do, and then you end up loving it. It's so strange. Like within reason, of course. I'm not talking about like whipping yourself or some really weird stuff. I'm talking about things like, oh, I don't like swimming. Swimming is not for me. Like you just think about swimming and you're like, oh no, I don't want to do swimming. And then when you start swimming, you're like, oh, this is so much fun, and then you tell others about swimming, and then they tell you, oh no, I don't like swimming. That's not for me. And then you try to explain to them, yeah, but try it. Like, I promise you, once you've done it, you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna like it. It's a really important thing that you mentioned, and embracing boredom. It's huge. It's a big deal.
Well, and part of what you're talking about is having beginner's mind, where you're open to new things, and I think that's part of the whole being recognizing and accepting that something that you want to do or something you need to do, especially if you've gone through the steps of prioritizing and identifying what's important for you to do. And of course, I'm using the example of discussion in the context of working on your business, but it can be applicable to obviously other things in your life.
I mean, this is a good example too, right? Like, this is such a good example too with business, like social media, for example. How many people are like, I'm not a social media type of person. It's like, well, sure. Social media can be pretty useful for business if you do it right.
Right.
But, at first it's like boring and you don't like it. And as you said on the slide, understand and accept that you may not feel interested in something until after you get involved. Most of us, or most tasks, I think the bullet points that you gave on the slides today are very valuable. And personally, I would love a PDF on this. I don't know how much work it is to.
No, it's fine. I actually offer.
10.
Yeah, I offer everybody to send, if somebody's. Well, as far as that goes, I can just upload it to Google and share it with you. So I'll do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I think those slides were just great. It was very helpful.
Thanks for watching this video recording from my live weekly workshop. Every Sunday, I feature instantly actionable steps you can take to overcome procrastination, increase your productivity, and get your shit done. Followed up by Q&A and discussion with the live participants. I really hope you found this video useful and you feel like watching it was time well spent. Please post any questions or comments you have. I always answer posts. I'd appreciate it very much if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you know anyone that would enjoy and benefit from this particular episode, please send them the link. Stay productive, my friends.